It's a Joe Show! With me, Joe! This is the show where I read an article a day to keep my stupid away. I learn something, you learn something, we grow together. Today is going to be a super fun article because it's about gaming, one of my favorite topics. If you don't know this about me, I actually have a background in video game design and production. Ba-boom! That was Pac-Man. If you didn't know, I knew that because I got a degree in it. This article is actually about a classic game called Dungeons and Dragons. Now, whoa. Don't leave yet, because this is how to explain D&D to your friends that don't play without turning them off to the idea. Which is very important, because if you turn them off to the idea, they're not going to play with you. And you need friends to play D&D. By Jackson Hyman. Listen, I may have a background in video game design and production, but I actually haven't got to play as much D&D as I would like. I have a lot of friends that play it, but they never invite me to play it. That sounded like a ball bouncing. So, how can we explain it to our friends so that they'll play with us? Because it's inherently super nerdy, and it's a turnoff to a lot of people, and it's intimidating. Look, everyone and their mother should be playing D&D at this point, but grandma's got to get into. I mean, we also need to admit that D&D is nerdy. It's dense nerdy. It's not like comic books that have an easy entry point with the movies. We have one entry point. One. And it's called The Player's Handbook, and it's several hundred pages. And let's be honest, if we're starting out with any average normal person, if you're showing them a book that's over 100 pages long, they're going to get a little intimidated. D&D is a complicated game with so many nebulous rules that it is intimidating for some people to get into the hobby. That said, there are some easy ways to bring up the subject with your friends to make it less daunting for the uninitiated. Rule 1, drop the jargon. In fact, living in the startup world, which is where my day job is at, I hear so much jargon, or as we call it, buzzwords. And they annoy the crap out of me. Drop the jargon and the buzzwords for both startups and D&D. That's the GM, and this is your character sheet, and this is the con score, so roll a save. Boof! If your friend's not into D&D and you say that sentence to them, they're going to be so thrown off. I've seen this happen at the table. D&D and other TTRPGs, tabletop role-playing games, have a lot of jargon built into them, from GM to proficiency bonus. This is one of the huge barriers of entry to people who are trying to join. You start talking and they don't want to ask you a million questions to understand what you're talking about. This is what makes people disengage with the hobby. So all we need to do is remove the jargon, and there are two parts to that, but let's tackle the first, explaining the game. D&D is a collaborative storytelling game where one person plays the narrator and the supporting characters, while everyone else plays main characters. That right there is this person's pitch, how they explain to people who've never played before. Most people can understand that. Even though some people might feel like they're not great storytellers, they can at least kind of understand that and get behind it. He says this description is great for several reasons. The first, the only word that they're learning there is D&D. Everything else is basic English class. Basic bitch English. A lot of questions coming from this are how questions with simple answers, so people feel like they're getting it. You can pitch that to your mom and it sounds educational. Now, once you get your friend to agree to sit down at the table with you and play D&D, they're gonna need a character. So step 2 is that step 1 isn't creating a character. I've personally made this mistake before. Character creation in TTRPGs is fun the second time you do it. The first time you pick up a new game, it's very intimidating. You feel like you're doing something wrong at every turn. Why does that number go here? Why is there so much math? Is that a good spell? Magic missile! Magic missile! Magic missile! Step 1 isn't making a character, it's playing the game. Guest appearances and throwaway one-shots are far and away the best way to introduce somebody to the game. If you can get a vague idea from them what they think is cool in a character, is it a big beefy bicep brawler like Joe? Or a wizened wily wizard on a quest to defeat the Dark Lord? The possibilities are endless, but they don't need to learn about it that day. An easy way to do this is to ask swords, bows, or magic, which translates to fighter, ranger, or cleric as their one-time character. Make them a cheat sheet for this character along with the character sheet. A cheat sheet in this case is just a sticky note that has health, AC, their attack with some of the numbers all added up, and some of the things they are carrying, or their inventory. Then you have them playing at the table during their one-shot, which brings us to their first playing tip. Step 3, assign them a non-GM buddy. This one can be hard if you're one person trying to get multiple other people into the game, but nothing is better for a player than learning with an experienced buddy. The buddy system. I learned about it in Boy Scouts. You couldn't go on a hike unless you had a buddy. Ha! The buddy is someone they can ask questions without feeling like they are interrupting. The GM is busy. Even a brand new person can tell that. If the GM or game master, I don't know if I mentioned that, is in the middle of something, your new player might feel bad asking a question, which is the last thing we want. We want people asking questions. There's no stupid questions. Having a non-GM buddy will allow us to slowly introduce the jargon of D&D because now they have a translator on hand. If the GM asks for an attack roll and the new player has the wide eyes of terror, attack roll? Their non-GM buddy can step in and explain what exactly that means, making it easier to keep them in the game and keep it snappy and fun. Step 4, talk about the game. Talking about the game is one of the most important parts of playing Dungeons & Dragons, and it is definitely one of the most important parts of introducing somebody to D&D. Post-game chatter is when we get to ask them if they enjoyed the game, what did they get, what was confusing, what do they want to do again, what was the best part, and did they like their big beefy bicep warrior? Now we can explain things. Once someone has played a session, we have examples they can relate to. We can pull from our experiences at the table and get to really discussing D&D. We can find out if they enjoyed playing a fighter, if they thought the wizard was really cool, or if they don't know why someone did something that they did. Yo, how come the rogue Kyle betrayed the whole team and stabbed everyone in the back? Huh, Kyle? Huh? Step 5, play again. Because you got another life. This is the last step that you repeat forever on a loop. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You keep playing D&D. Play with your new friend as a hobby. Embrace them as part of your party and go on sexy adventures. Enter the dungeons, slay the dragons, and best of all, adventure together. Because adventures are always better together. I want to hear from you. Are you playing D&D with your friends? How have you tried to make your friends get into D&D? And what are your favorite characters to play in D&D? Tell me in the comments below. Or also, if you'd like to, you have a good story, send a great story to hijoshow@gmail.com about something that happened in one of your D&D games. I know there was this great one that I had. We were playing kind of silly. I used to be a video game tester, and we were spending long hours called Crunch testing the game, and it was late at night, and we were playing a multiplayer game, testing something, doing it over and over and over again. And anyways, we were playing D&D on the side, and I remember being, again, a big beefy bicep warrior, and we were stuck down in a cave, right? We were stuck in a cave. No one knew how to get out of it, but above us, there was some light shining down. There was a hole that we could potentially get out of the cave in. And so I remember somehow, I don't know if I leaped up to the hole or if somebody shot me up there in some way, but I was up in the hole and I had my arms on both sides and my legs on both sides. I was holding it up. Our archer on the team took aim and he was going to shoot an arrow that I was going to catch in my mouth, but the roll didn't go well on his end. The roll didn't go well on my end. So instead, he missed the shot and I ended up catching the arrow with my buttocks. And luckily the arrow had a rope on it and everybody was able to climb out of the hole as I gripped the arrow with my butt. And that was one of my favorite D&D moments. It was so silly and so stupid, but I had such a good time playing. That's been today's Joe Show. If you like my content, hit that subscribe button below and mash that bell so every time that I upload a new video, you get a notification. Send articles to hijoshow@gmail.com if you find something interesting. Otherwise, this has been the Joe Show. I love you.